was such a different experience. It almost was a little bit creepy, but still allowed for an amazing opportunity where you've got no one around and you've pretty much got the thing to yourself. Jade with Mixtape 51. Welcome back to the channel. And this one is on New York. I spent four solid days there and was going to do a series of videos on some tips and observations that I had while I was there. I'm hoping that this is just one of a few videos, and I think I got enough content. But yeah, I'm a street photographer, and that was the big reason I went to New York, was the street photography opportunity there, because everyone knows that New York is the jam for that. It was not my first time. I was there when I was a little kid, but I don't really think that counts. So this was my second go there. I unfortunately had a delayed flight, so I didn't get there till like 3 in the morning. So tip number one, your plane may be delayed, FYI, and it sucks. But once, I was able to get some sleep and get out onto the street, I think it was late in the afternoon, like around 2-ish, I headed down to the subway system. That was one of the big things that I initially wanted to try and capture, is some compositions down there. And the the subway system there it's very different to where I'm from, which is Arizona. Our light rail system's not as fast, and that's one observation that I had, is that their system is just so much quicker. Also, there's a lot of trains coming and going all the time, so it's not like here where you're waiting maybe 15-20 minutes for another train to come by. They're going in and out all the time. Now, I really like long exposures, so this is, more for that crowd. As far as my style is, I kind of like to capture a bit of the object, in this case, the subway, and not just have streaks of light. So for these photos that you're seeing, I was shooting around 1/8, 1/10 of a shutter. You may want to adjust, accordingly, depending on your taste of long exposures, if that's your thing. And as far as any other advice for the subway, it was stuffy. So heads up on that. It's pretty muggy down there, and the weather was around the 80s. There's a lot of characters. I mean, I could have spent a lot more time down there. I was down there for about an hour, and you could spend a lot more time. There's just unique characters coming and going, and it's such a cool spot, I think, for any street photographer. One other thing to keep in mind, and this won't apply to a lot of you, I use a chair to get from point A to point B, so I needed an elevator to utilize. And unfortunately, the subway system does not have elevators at each stop. So if you happen to use a chair as well, FYI, not every stop is going to have an elevator. But yeah, if you go to New York, you got to hit the subway for sure to get some comps. After the subway system, my goal was to head down to Dumbo and try to get whatever I could along the way, which included going over the Brooklyn Bridge. The dilemma was the time of day. The time of day I chose sucked. Well, I didn't have much choice because of my plane, but there was just a ton of tourists. Now, in that case, you may want to try and utilize some ND filters, maybe slowing down your shutter to where, you can blur the tourists. I didn't utilize that really in this case. I just tried to get comps that kind of eliminated tourists altogether. The other thing to keep in mind for the Brooklyn Bridge that I noticed that was challenging is it's shaking. So if you have a camera with IBIS, in-body stabilization, in it, that's going to be really helpful to you to be able to try and eliminate that shake that you're going to get on the bridge while you're on it. Now, once you're in Dumbo, one of the tips that I would give is going back to the ND filter thing again. There was a nonstop flow of people, especially in that section that I'm sure you may have seen, where you've got the Manhattan Bridge that people have captured there. And you kind of can't get away from the people. And so putting an ND filter on your lens and getting a longer shutter speed can definitely help eliminate that, or, at least kind of ghost them out. I don't think I used a long enough one. I wish I had maybe used a longer exposure to try and ghost them out more. But that's one thing that I think could be helpful, is if you're trying to not have people in your shot. Otherwise, Dumbo is an incredible spot. The vibe is fantastic. The restaurant that I went to there was awesome. It had gluten-free options, which was great for me. And all the other restaurants looked amazing too. I could have literally just spent hours there. And, you know, I'm sure the images that you're seeing of mine, you've seen before 1,000 times, but there is something about sitting at the East River, pointing your camera towards Manhattan and that cityscape and capturing, you know, the changing light. And it's just, yeah, if you're going to New York, I would say Dumbo is definitely a spot that you got to put on your list to go to. So as I was saying, I could have stayed in Dumbo for, hours, but I ended up leaving around 10. I didn't take public transportation back to Manhattan to my hotel. I went back over the Brooklyn Bridge, and I'm really glad that I did, because being that it was around 10, I didn't think I would be so lucky. Basically, the vendors were gone. The tourists were gone for the most part. You maybe had someone go through here and there, but people were pretty much gone by that point. And it was almost eerie and creepy on the bridge because it was so desolate, but it really made for a great opportunity to get the compositions that you wanted without having any kind of people in it and having the cityscape all lit up. And yeah, so if you're looking to shoot, into the city from the Brooklyn Bridge, 10 o'clock was when I was there, and it just worked out to be a great time. Now, once I was back in Manhattan, I was up against that choice of, do I get public transportation back to the hotel? Do I not? I am so happy I didn't, because New York has one of the best biking slash running trails right along the Hudson River, which was on the way back to my hotel. And they've also included all these great opportunities for people to play volleyball, tennis, you name it. People were out doing it. And also they were out just on dates because the public spaces are just so nice along the Hudson River. The hotel I stayed at, in case that may be something that's helpful, is the Standard Highline. And it was a great hotel, kind of in a nice area with lots of great restaurant options. So if you're looking for a hotel, that's definitely one I would suggest checking out. And, just really taking advantage of that, again, bike trail / running trail along the Hudson River, which, coming from Arizona, I never would have imagined was a thing. But it was like 11 o'clock at night. There were so many people out that I wasn't concerned about the gear I had with me or anything. I was just getting comps as I saw them, because I wasn't really worried about it with how busy everything was. And New York could definitely teach a lot of cities something about how to do it right and create public spaces that people use, because it's just so unique compared to other cities I've been to, and how incredible those spaces were and accessible, and actually seeing people utilize them. So here's another one to put on your list. That trail along the Hudson River, I think, is a really good opportunity for comps that I normally wouldn't have thought of, but I would definitely put on my list if you're going to New York for the first time. FYI, camera of choice that I had for first day in New York, and actually I think I pretty much used it every single day, was the XT5 Fuji with the 16-55 lens, 2.8. That is my go-to setup. I just love it because it's just so versatile, and I don't feel like I'm gonna miss something. I have a bad issue with FOMO, and this setup just makes it so that I feel like I have the opportunity to capture whatever I'm seeing and is making sense to me as far as a composition and that kind of thing. So and this lens is fairly quick, I mean, I wish it was more like a 2, but of course then it would be massive. It's already pretty chunky. But yeah, so this is the setup I had, in case you might have been wondering that. So that's all my tips and observations. I hope it was helpful, and I didn't put the metadata into, the video as far as shutter speed and aperture and all that kind of stuff. It takes a lot of time to go back and then plug it all in. Please let me know if that's something that you were like, oh man, I wish that was in there. That would really help me. If you can leave that feedback, I appreciate it, because then I know. Otherwise, I'll just leave it out. And if there's something I didn't mention that you're curious about, please let me know. Again, I'm going to try and put together another, hopefully 2 or 3 of these. We'll see. see how that goes. But yeah, other than that, thanks so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one. All right, bye. I'm gonna give some tips and tricks. Not tips and tricks. I don't even know what I'm saying anymore.